it's been over 10 years since Fernando Alonso has won a Grand Prix. Now he enters 2025 with Adrian Newey steering the design direction of their car. Could this be the year Alonso reaches the top step of the podium?
Could this be the year for Fernando Alonso to get back on top? That's our goal through this series and season of 2025, the Fernando Alonso career, where we are simply out to try and put him at the top step of the podium. That is the main goal this season, not necessarily winning a championship, because to start this 2025 season, Aston Martin is a little ways down the R&D order, so it's going to be a bit of an unrealistic expectation to be fighting for a world championship. But for fighting for Grand Prix wins, I think it is very possible later in the season. I'm hopeful that with Adrian Newey coming over to this team here at Aston Martin, we can rapidly progress this team forward throughout the season. Of course, we have a full season here on the way. It's going to be a grind, but very excited for this challenge here. Now is one of the new series starting here on the channel, but not the only series that you'll be seeing. Of course, we'll have a proper career mode starting here very, very soon as well, within the next couple of days. And as well, I have another series planned on top of that. We're going to have 3 different series going likely at one time here now, as we were underway in practice as Alonso in the Aston Martin here, running the 2025 mod on F1 24 and bringing all the new liveries, of course, into the game. And it's actually a beautiful, beautiful mod, outside of the fact that, unfortunately, due to the game limitations, we can't have the 2025 roster. So we still have the likes of Logan Sargent at Williams, we still have Carlos Sainz at Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, Sergio Perez at Red Bull, etc., Daniel Ricciardo as well at VCARB, things like that. But overall here in practice, lap 1 was a bit slow, but got my bearings straight here in lap 2 and lap 3, and was overall fairly satisfied with what we were doing in practice, not in necessarily terms of speed, but in comfort in handling, as our teammate Lance Stroll goes P10 as we were 19th position heading into qualifying on a Friday evening. So obviously as well, 2025 in real life kicks off at Australia here. Again, because of the game limitations, we are stuck with starting quite simply here at Bahrain. So not necessarily my strongest track to kick off a season here, so hopefully we can get a respectful result to just start the season. Not necessarily really expecting to score points either, just based off of where we are in the R&D. So it's all about just the first 2 or 3 Grand Prix, just kind of managing and just, you know, not making mistakes and just getting the best results possible to set ourselves up well for the rest of the season. And like I said, hopefully we continue to be able to upgrade this car at a consistent rate with Adrian Newey guiding the ship. Now, as you can see myself on this opening lap, making some mistakes here. So it wasn't going to be a pretty first lap, and I had already used my battery fully. So it was going to really drain our time at the end, and we're dead last here as Fernando Alonso. So now coming through to a lap later in qualifying. Only one qualifying session, because we are using the improved AI mod, which means you have to run only one qualifying session or one shot qualifying, because if you simulate time, it's just not going to go good. The AI are going to set unbeatable lap times. So here we are, finding about 0.4 of a second gain, near half-second gain, and I wasn't really happy still overall with the lap. I felt like it wasn't going to be enough, but we end up gaining 0.7 of a second. Once again, running at a DRS or ERS and crossing the line. Although we gained nearly a full second, we only gained 2 spots. We'll start the season opening race as Fernando Alonso from P18, Verstappen on pole, Lance Stroll in P14, and you can see Sargent and Bottas there just behind us now in the Williams and the Kick Sauber. But it's a Red Bull lockout. Verstappen, Perez, Lando Norris in third. Expect McLaren to be strong just like Red Bull, as we'll head to the grid for Grand Prix 1 of 2025 as Fernando Alonso.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round one of this year's Formula One World Championship. Formula One returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36 mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities, and it could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakhir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some point during the Grand Prix.
So we will be doing a two-stop strategy here. We're starting on softs, going to another set of softs, and then we'll be switching over to the hard compound tire. Of course, you never know what's going to happen during these races. Could be some curveballs, maybe a safety car. That could completely change the strategy around. Nonetheless, we're ready to go racing here. Red Bull will take off from the front.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out.
Everybody's starting on softs except the two Haas cars, Magnussen and Hulkenberg electing to go onto the hards.
As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, and failing that, within the points.
So we're ready to roll here towards the back of the grid with Fernando Alonso now. Red Bull 1-2. Can they finish 1-2? Good, definitely an opportunity for them to do exactly that here now as the last few cars roll up to the back of the grid. Everybody on softs except the pair of Haas cars who start on the hard compound tire. How will this affect their race long term? Where will they end up? Nonetheless, 2025 Fernando Alonso season underway as we split the middle. The Red Bulls get off well now as Perez under a bit of pressure from Lando Norris into turn number one. It's a gaggle of cars, three wide, 3 rows of 3 wide actually there, as it looks like one of the Mercedes might have lost one of their end plates now as we all continue on. And then overall, I mean, even after 3 rows of 3 wide, we end up having a fairly clean start. More 3 wide there, the pair of Mercedes, Russell Hamilton going at it with Carlos Sainz as well as they continue fighting, but they get it sorted out now. Can't tell who got out in front. That's Russell, it looks like, who got out in front of that battle over Lewis Hamilton now, as everyone's gonna get things sorted, and I'm gonna have an opportunity here to lunge one up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo here into the braking zone. This for P17. We didn't gain anything on the start. We went through the middle, 4 wide, 3 wide, I think it might have just been, but unfortunately nothing quite worked out. There's a bit of a lockup there just in front of us on our nose, but nonetheless, we get through without any issues, and that was the main thing here. So overall, a pretty good start to kick off this Grand Prix here. We got 29 laps of racing as we are doing 50% length races here in this season now. As you can see, some battles to kick off lap 2. That's our teammate Lance Stroll going at it with Logan Sargent. He's going to stay ahead of the Williams now. The American's going to come under pressure from Valtteri Bottas here in towards turn number 4. And who's going to come out on top of that one? Looks like it'll be Bottas, but now Sargent saying, hey, I'm not backing out of this. They'll continue side by side now into the S's section. Near contact, they keep things clean. Sargent stays ahead. I have an opportunity almost to make a move on Bottas. Didn't quite materialize there. Now a lap later, lap 3, and Bottas is coming back strong at Sargent. He'll go around the outside, and I'm getting tired of being behind these guys. I'm like, hey, you guys got to get things sorted out right here. And well, that opportunity is going to be right now to take advantage now as they're too busy fighting each other. I'm going to make a move 3 wide up the inside here now in towards turn 4, and hopefully we come out on top. Sargent backs out of it. We take the position, a 2-for-1 special now up in a P15. Our teammate of Lance Stroll, fellow Canadian to myself, but obviously Alonso being Spaniard there, but he's up in P13. Magnussen just between the two of us now, as we'll focus in on reeling in the Haas, which it shouldn't be terribly hard in these opening laps to be able to, overtake Kevin Magnussen, who's on that hard compound tire. Going to be a little bit slower, at least early in the run, but of course every single lap that passes, the softs continue to lose their advantage as we come to lap 5 of 29 at this point now, and still kind of about the same gap between myself and that Haas, and we haven't really gone anywhere everywhere. You look at the track map now, you can see the two Red Bulls, quite a bit of space between them, but they have gotten away from everybody else. Lando Norris in third, then you got the pair of Ferraris of Leclerc as well as Carlos Sainz. As Magnussen overtakes Stroll, we got problems, and that's Albon around, and that's going to actually bring out a safety car deployed, and Albon, I believe, self-spins himself, and we gain some spots. We're up to P11, and you can see it there. He spins off the nose right there of Esteban Ocon. Everyone stops. I nearly plow into it. We go around the outside, and we move up some positions, and everybody is heading into the pit lane except for two cars. The Haas cars, they're going to stay on the racetrack, so that's going to really mix things up here, but every other car is going to box here, and it was only about a lap before our original pit window, so we are going to be putting on mediums, because I realized as the Grand Prix went on that we actually needed to switch to the mediums and not use a second pair or a second set of softs, because we didn't have another fresh set of softs. That one that we started on was the only fresh set we had, so we had to make the move on to the mediums after using two sets of softs in qualifying. Verstappen, Perez 1-2. How about Nico Hülkenberg in third? His teammate, of course, of Kevin Magnussen, actually all the way down in 17th position. Maybe he did pit, actually, so I believe it's only Hülkenberg that stayed out as we would get ready to go back racing. So we were P11 when the safety car came out after avoiding that crash. We're down to P13 for the restart. Logan Sargent just in front of us. We're back underway here. Lap 10 of 29. Verstappen, Perez lead the way down towards turn number 1. The Red Bull's in charge, and I would expect 4th place on back. Lando Norris trying to probably want to get as quickly as they can past Nico Hülkenberg, who's going to be slower. So this is going to be interesting, because the two Red Bulls are going to have some time to run away, while Norris and others are trying to find their way around the Haas. So now here we are, fighting with Logan Sargent, the American. We'll go around the outside, and for the second time tonight, we'll pass him in a pretty easy overtake. I mean, we're on mediums, he's on softs, but yeah, we're just able to overpower him right there. So we make our way back up to 12th, so one spot shy of where we were running when we avoided that crash. And we know that one spot belongs to the Haas of Hülkenberg, and you can see Norris got past him, but he is holding up everybody, which is perfect for us, because him holding up everybody is just backing them all up to me, so it's allowing us to get right up close to the back of, say, Lewis Hamilton right here. In that Mercedes now, of course, who should be a Ferrari this season. Not quite what we see now is Max Verstappen. Verstappen slow. Verstappen's lost an engine. It's going to be night over for Max Verstappen. Down the front straightaway, Perez takes the lead over Lando Norris, and it will be Carlos Sainz moving up through into 3rd position. How about that? The season opener of 2025, and it looked like it was going Red Bull's way until now. Verstappen out of the Grand Prix. We continue on. There's a free spot, P11, and suddenly the reality of points is becoming a potential realistic objective. Lewis Hamilton, he's now going to come into the pits. Hülkenberg had just pitted as well, so we are now up to P9, getting 2 spots right there, as we are going to be just a little bit behind Leclerc, but more cars continue to pit, and this would allow us to go up to 4th place, as we were stretching this run a little bit longer, because just about everybody in front of us was on the softs, so we are just kind of letting this run play out, and we'll come into the pits here relatively shortly, and we'll put on the hard compound tire and go to the end. So I was thinking of staying out, 2-3 extra laps, but in reality, I don't want to give up too much time to these guys that are going to be boxing now, so I decided we're going to pit with them, even though we're on a bit harder of a compound. Let's pit now, put the hards on, and just go hard to the end of this race. So we come in, and we had the option to actually go with another set of mediums. It's a bit of a slow stop, we had to wait there, but we could have went to another set of mediums if we maybe stretched it a little bit longer, but I just didn't feel like that was going to be the right way to go, and we actually lose a spot there to Danny Rick because we got held for so long. Some smoke off of somebody's car right there into turn 1 with a lockup now, but nonetheless, we continue on and realizing, okay, we just got to go. We got to go hard here and just hope for the best, and unfortunately, that wasn't quite working out. We had given up 2 seconds to Ricciardo, and we find ourselves in 14th position, so not exactly what I wanted to see. However, lots of time left in this race, so I'm really not that concerned as we continue on to lap 19 of 29. So, coming up towards 10 laps to go in this race, and I don't know about the Haas situation. They both might still have to pit. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to find out as time goes on, so that could be 2 spots, but you can see I'm struggling a little bit now, and I've got Zhou behind myself. We're 4 seconds now behind Ricciardo, so we've given up 2 more seconds. Not exactly the position we wanted to find ourselves in here now, but just struggling a little bit for pace as this hard tire went onto the car. So down to 14th as Zhou is able to go through there. So now in the striking distance as well for Esteban Ocon. Now I can confirm Kevin Magnussen did pit, so we gain another spot there, so up to P13 now. The question is, of course, what about Nico Hulkenberg, and as well, how about VCARB? As you can see just on the track map, they're running quite strong as well in this race. Yuki Tsunoda, he might even be on track for a top 5 here in the season opening race now, and people say he didn't deserve the Red Bull seat. Well, Red Bull, I think, is the only people that said he didn't deserve the Red Bull seat. Everybody with a brain knows that Yuki Tsunoda deserves to be at Red Bull. Now yellow flags in front of us. Hulkenberg's pitting as well, but yellow flags, and I believe it was Piastri. Oscar Piastri self-spins on the exit of the final turn, and he actually saves it and gets it back going. What a situation there that was, and unfortunately for us, obviously, that means we don't gain anything, but we do gain time. So you can see that whole group of cars, 10th through to about 6th or 5th, they're all right there together. Now suddenly within striking distance, they all had to slow down so much, and they're all over top of each other. So there's still a chance that Joe and myself could maybe get up there and mix it up with these guys now. But as we come to lap 24, the pace seemed to be coming back in this car, and I saved up some battery and said, okay, let's bring the fight back to Zhou Guanyu and that Sauber kick machine as we dive down into turn 1, wheel to wheel. A bit of contact there, but no big deal, and he continues to not make life easy for us here in this Aston Martin. None of us have DRS size. I don't know why Zhou doesn't open up that rear wing, but now we fight into turn 4 still. Side by side, who's gonna lift? It's not gonna be me. We take the position into P11. Can we find one more spot? We're gonna need some help. I'm not gonna be able to get to Piastri and them on pace. We just simply need, a mistake, a spin, or some kind of failure if we're gonna get points here tonight in Bahrain. But we now are holding a fairly stable and comfortable gap of 0.8 of a second or so to Zhou Guanyu, and now more as Ocon's going to start to put some pressure on him. The Frenchman's going to try and move through into P12, and I actually extend the gap outside of DRS range as we come to 2 laps to go, and yellow's behind, and it's actually Valtteri Bottas who's going to be done for the night in that kick Sauber. So out of the race is Bottas, 2 DNFs, Verstappen and Bottas throughout this Grand Prix, season opening Grand Prix that is, in Bahrain. Now as Ocon would get past Zhou, who was falling off a cliff, now nearly 2 seconds back, but Ocon was closing in on me. Former teammate to Fernando Alonso, of course, when they were both at Alpine together, as we start the final lap here from Bahrain, and it's all Sergio Perez, Lando Norris in 2nd, and Carlos Sainz in 3rd, and most importantly, or most impressingly, it is going to be the VCARB of Yuki Tsunoda, who's up there in 5th behind George Russell, and Ricciardo in 9th. Both of those drivers taking advantage of strategy, but it's Sergio Perez who wins round 1 of 2025. He keeps his ride because of game limitations and takes full advantage. As we're going to round these final few turns, 1 corner to go, and it's not going to be points, but honestly, P11, considering we started P18, you couldn't ask for much more as long as we hold off Ocon, which we will. He's closing, not enough. P11 in Bahrain.
Everything was on the wrong side today.
Honestly, Fernando, maybe not the most thrilled, but I was quite happy with that result. Daniel Ricciardo, driver of the day. I don't know why it's not Yuki Tsunoda. But nonetheless, Perez wins over Norris and Carlos Sainz, 3 different teams on the podium there. It was all Verstappen up until he lost his engine, of course, so heartbreaking for Max. And you see our teammate of Lance Stroll in 14th. But yeah, not a great start for the Constructors' Championship, because VCARB is going to be a team we're going to be pretty close with for the first probably half of this season. So not exactly what I wanted to see there. And Alpine as well, scoring 4 points with Pierre Gasly. Nonetheless, that's round 1 of this Fernando Alonso Get Him on the Top Step of the Podium 2025 career. I'll see you guys for round 2 in Jeddah. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.